Theresa, you smashed the glass ceiling, but it looks like a whole lot of men have rebuilt it.
Look, I was part of a wonderful era with, female Prime Minister, female Leader of the Opposition, female Mayor of Auckland, female Chief Justice, and it really felt like a bit of a sort of a new dawn. But in a way we were always telling ourselves a story. It wasn't like women were really running the show, but it definitely felt like there was progress. And yeah, I looked at that list this morning. I knew there'd be no woman on it. I know who all the CEOs are. But if you'd asked me back in the 2000s, would we be like this at this point, I would have been gobsmacked. And I still am gobsmacked, really, that there's usually one or two women who have the determination and single-mindedness and resilience it takes to get to the top in a large corporate. But right now, we haven't even got that. And role models are so important for other girls and women coming through.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's important. And also, I remember that period, and I remember New Zealand being very proud because Telecom was our biggest country then. So, in fact, all the top jobs in New Zealand were held by women, and we kind of declared ourselves in the world. It was kind of a branding point. What the hell has happened since?
Well, it depends how. So, yes, and were we really? Sylvia Cartwright spoke at the Women's Conference about 2005, I think it was, and I was there listening to her, and she correctly predicted that none of those women who held the top jobs then would be replaced by women. And she was right. Shana Light is still Chief Justice, but every other one of those women was replaced by a bloke. And so, it never was the storming of the barricades that it looked like.
Yeah.
And New Zealand is still a good place to be born a woman. There are opportunities that can be very hard for girls to come by elsewhere in the world. So it's still a great place, but it's in terms of business and business leadership, it's still harder if you're a woman. Models of leadership still tend to be male. It's harder to get there. It's harder to stay there. And the penalties for failure or any perceived failure are higher for women. And there's always, in both business and politics, a much narrower range of attributes and styles that are acceptable for women. If you're too tough, you're a bitch. If you're not tough enough, you're too soft. And so getting and yet we have to be authentic, otherwise what we say doesn't ring true. So being authentic to your own style, but having that fit quite a narrow spectrum of what's acceptable leadership behaviour from a woman is actually quite tough.
Yeah, really tough. As you describe it, I'm kind of nodding. I mean, you're right. So it is still, in the year 2016, demonstrably, provably tougher to be a woman in business than it is to be a man. There are 50 names here, and none of them belong to a female.
I think that speaks to itself. Now, the other thing that speaks for itself. Now, what's happened in the last 15 years, though, has really been the rise of entrepreneurs. The internet has made it possible to build a global business from your own home. And a lot of women have chosen that path. And so, there's always been great female entrepreneurial role models in New Zealand. I mean, Wendy Pye was ahead of her time. Yeah. More recently, Diane Foreman, Celia Robinson, Nadia Limonai set up My Food Bag. And so, women of talent and determination who are drawn to business and for whom that is their expression of themselves in the world will find a way. And I also want to pay tribute to the women there are in corporates, women like Sue Sheldon, Joan Withers, who are chairing large companies, the men and women who are part of the 25% group trying to actually improve the situation. But you'd have to say at the moment, the results speak for themselves, that we don't care enough about this as a society for it to be any different.
Have you been subjected to sexism explicitly during your remarkable career?
Of course. I believe that every woman who says they haven't been is either lying or doesn't want to tell the truth because it doesn't suit the situation they're in, or they're unconscious. I mean, every woman is at some point. So, of course, when I was younger, I couldn't get into merchant banking because it wasn't seen as the right field for women. And as you know, in that industry, there's been global gender discrimination, successful claims made. So the person who assessed that may have been doing me a favour, but I didn't think so at the time. However, for me, because I was so single-minded and so determined, it never stopped me in my tracks. And I do believe that some environments and some industries are more supportive than others. Women get a fairer crack in some situations than others. And I think if you're a woman, you shouldn't think, oh, well, I can be the one that makes a difference. You should look for environments that are going to let you display your talents and put yourself in situations where you at least got a crack at it if that's what you want to do with your life.